Welcome to Do I Sound Like I Care, the podcast by, for and about unpaid family carers. My guest in this episode is actor and comedian Smug Roberts, and we discuss caring for our mums, his new play Dementia Street, and the importance of maintaining a sense of humour when you're caring. So please subscribe, like, follow and share at Carer Podcast. Hope you enjoy. Hello, Smug.
Hello.
Smug Roberts.
Yeah, that's the name.
That's you. And
Well, it's not my real name, it's because I'm signing on as well.
signing on. Haven't heard that for a while.
I know, yeah. My real name's Andrew.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Oh, what would you like me to call you today?
You can call me, I don't know, you see, I'm not sure if it's the professional capacity or we're just having a chat, you know what I mean?
Well, we are.
Is it profile or is it a laugh?
It's a bit of both. But
Yeah.
it's two carers sitting down talking about caring.
Well, I suppose, yeah, all right, my name's Smug Roberts, that's my working name. But I think let's go with Andy. That'll be nice.
Andy.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
Welcome.
What's your name?
My name's Louise.
Hello,
Louise
Louise.
Lynch, host of Do I Sound Like I Care?
Right, we've got all the plugs in now.
Right, okay,
yeah,
that's
we
good.
Just relax now, can't we?
Yeah. And you're the first person I've talked to as a guest who's got an IMDb page.
Oh.
So means you're in the media.
I'm in the business, yeah.
How would you describe yourself?
I describe myself, I started out as a stand-up, and then I got asked to do acting. It was quite a easy route, really.
Okay.
20
How long ago was this? Do you mind me asking?
years ago, maybe. It's more than 20 years ago now.
Okay.
So I saw in the Manchester Evening News that there was this raw night at the Frog and Bucket on a Monday. So I went down
Yeah.
on the 27th of February, 1995.
The day that changed your future.
Changed my life. Well, it was all kind of meant to be, I suppose, because when I got there, I turned up, I had no idea what I was going to do, I'd not prepared anything.
Bit like this.
A bit like this.
Yeah.
Well, that's the nature of it, I think, now, isn't it? Like now, it doesn't matter. The more authentic, the better, really, isn't it now?
Yeah.
So I got there, and I sat there. Then they introduced me to the compere. I went, ladies and gentlemen, Smug Roberts. I was on my own, pretending I was reading a paper. And I got up, and as I got on the stage, this couple, about 3 or 4 people stood up to walk out. So I went, where are you going? That's the first thing he ever said. And they went, oh, and they sat down again. And I used to run soccer schools for young kids in Moston. And I had the old click camera, the old,
Yeah.
check it to get developed thing.
Yeah.
Back in day,
Film,
95.
Yeah.
And
remember that.
I took the camera out, and this woman came up with this guy, and I said, yeah, I'll take a photograph or else my partner won't believe that I've done it. So I handed her the camera, and she took the camera, and I've still got the photo. And the person with the camera was Caroline Aherne.
The Carolina
Aherne, yeah. So
Brilliant.
that was the best thing that ever happened for me, because then Caroline and I became friends with Hooky, her husband at the time, from New Order, Peter Hook.
Yeah.
And she mentored me for a good many years.
That's a lovely
And
story.
that was just like a complete fluke.
Yeah.
And then less than 2 months later, I did a one-man show. Caroline compared, and Hooky and his band played like the house band.
2 months after just
2 months after
doing your
starting out.
first stand-up.
Yeah. So after that, I just gradually worked my way up to headlining. And then the Comedy Store opened. They asked me to do the opening night with Julian Clary and
Yeah.
Paul Merton and people like that, old people from the old Comedy Store in Manchester, in London.
Yeah.
So I became part of that and did really well on the night, and that got me the part in 24 Hour Party People, because the director was there. I didn't have an agent, but I'd met Sally Lindsay. Remember Sally Lindsay
Yeah.
in Dementia Street?
Yeah.
And we ended up having the same agent, and it just went from there, just jobbing.
Yeah.
Which has been doing for the last 20 odd years.
And you're still a full-time comedian?
So I'm still doing the full-time comedian and bits and bobs.
Were you always the funny guy? Or-
Not necessarily. I think what got me through I'm pretty heckle, not proof, but I come through from a football background,
Okay. Yeah.
playing football, and if you didn't respond to heckles, you were knackered, you know what I mean? You had no chance. You had to come back at someone. You couldn't let them set the mick at you. And also, I was 35 when I started, so I had a little bit of life experience.
Tell me about your family and tell me about how, where you grew up.
My father was a Pentecostal pastor, minister.
Really?
My dad and my mum run several churches, a couple of churches. The first one was in Langley, in Middleton.
Okay,
Roxton.
yeah.
My youngest brother was born in the flat we lived in. We were in the front room when my mum gave birth to my younger brother, my youngest brother.
So where are you in the
In Langley, so I'm the oldest.
You're the
I'm the
oldest.
oldest.
Yeah.
Then there's John, then there's Trevor.
Okay.
Trevor was born in the flat. We thought, we heard some crying. My gran came in with the baby in her arms and threw it on the fire.
What?
It was the afterbirth.
Oh,
We had a coal fire. And I swear to you, honestly.
that was before the days it was
Literally,
made into
literally.
patty.
And it was like, oh my God. And we just heard, and it was like, what? But that was my gran, like no nonsense. And then we went in and we saw the baby and everything. Thank God for that,
Yeah.
So not overly religious. My mum and dad were quite liberal. But it was, most of my time was spent socially going to church.
Okay.
But it's what people call happy clappy. It was great, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was good to go. And my dad was a brilliant pastor, he was a good speaker and made things good. My mum played the piano, she played the guitar.
Is this where you get your entertainment background?
Yeah, my mum and dad
from?
were well up for it. My dad was a performer, but in a spiritual way. My mum had a great sense of humour. She was even more liberal than my dad in that way. My gran was a laugh as well. My other grandparents were funny in their own way.
Yeah.
So it was always dealing with issues as well with humour. I think it was where I learned to do that.
I think bringing humour to being a carer is really important. Sometimes you're just so bogged down in actually doing the care, you can forget to find the funny moments.
I wrote a play called Dementia Street, and it's about my experiences with my mum. And as you'll know, but maybe people listening won't, there's 7 stages of the cognitive decline, say. And that's what I cover in the play.
I actually don't know the 7 stages. You'd be surprised how little I know, to be honest.
So the 7 stages go right from being cognitive, when you know what you're doing.
Okay.
Then
So is that stage 1 or 7?
That's stage 1. So you'd be what you would class
start
as normal, which is not a kind of PC word these days, but you would have normal cognitive function. And then the second one would be where you get a little bit forgetful.
Yeah.
Third one, you have severe and not severe, but basically you go from leaving your car in the car park and not knowing where you parked it, to then having problems with currency, money, tasks, getting irritated, and there's all different things. And then around about 3 or 4, that's when you probably get diagnosed by a doctor that you had early stages.
Okay.
And then obviously then the next stage is 4, 5 and 6 are the ones that lead up to the inevitable. I thought dementia was over when my mum died. And that it was kind of a relief in that way. And you're not allowed to do that either. That's what the play's about. You can feel relieved. You can feel a certain amount. You feel a massive loss. But I think, like yourself, when you're looking after somebody, you're like absolutely distraught initially. But then obviously you go and reset.
Yeah.
So that's when I thought, no, I really need to do something from my own point of view as well. So I wrote the play.
Yeah.
But it took me, that was 2018 maybe, but it's taken me that long to put it on.
And just backtracking a little bit on the timeline for your mum and her illness. How long ago was she
my mum was diagnosed with vascular dementia.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, was also kind of related to the fact that she had a stroke as well.
Yeah.
So in biblical terms, I was well pissed off because it looked like God was really taking the mick. Like my mum was a talker, she was a communicator, so she lost the ability to communicate.
Yeah.
And she got the dementia. And then in the timeline, my dad died. And
was he caring for
my dad was caring for my mum.
Okay.
So that was a big wake-up call for me and my 2 brothers because it was like, oh, God, that. And he wasn't hiding stuff, but he didn't want us to go in a home.
And how quickly was that sort of happening? Was that?
Well, my dad died of a heart attack just overnight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was like, all guns blazing.
Yeah.
We'd even had a meeting in the pub, me and my 2 brothers, about what we'd do if mum died or mum needed looking after a couple of weeks before my dad died. So it was kind of like fate in that way,
Yeah.
So it all became a big deal because we had to get my mum looked after. And that Twilight Zone was finding out how many carers were knocking about.
Yeah.
Arguing people that we wanted more than 1 visit a day. And then...
Who did all that then? Did you all get involved? Or
no, I did most of it.
So you were like was that because you're the oldest? Or
I think.
Or you're the most argumentative?
I suppose. Yeah, because I was just stop arguments between the 2 younger brothers. But trying to keep the humour in it because it was important because we were wrecked inside because my dad had died.
Yeah.
We weren't expecting it.
How was it for
I think
you
for
trying
us,
to get all that in place?
To get it in place was stressful. But then my mum's decline went to another level. We got her into a warden control flat, and she had the warden there. But then you'd have like frustrating things like she'd think, well, can you come down and I can't do the telly. Because the telly went to 2 remotes, if you remember, when it went digital and all that.
Yeah. Well, I can't do the telly, to be
saying,
honest.
But when you've got, your capacity's diminishing, then you're like, wow.
Mission impossible.
And then you're going down. It wasn't that far away from where I lived at the time, but it was still a ball ache. And then getting annoyed with your brother because he didn't turn up when he said he would.
Yeah.
And them getting annoyed with me because I'm having a go at them.
Yeah. The sibling thing's very interesting, I find, because did your parents ever talk to you about their wishes, what they did you ever have a like?
Well, that comes into play later on in the scenario, because when we when she eventually had to go in home, there was, I don't think they weren't called Macmillan nurses, I don't think, but there was a nurse
Admiral nurses.
Pardon?
Admiral, is it the Admiral?
It might have been
nurses?
Admiral,
yeah. They're the
and they said, have you thought about an end of life plan?
Yeah.
Now I'm pretty practical and I've got no issues. I've got no taboo subjects in that sense, and neither have my brothers, frankly. So we wrote out a end of life plan, what she wanted, a pastor at the funeral, and all those kind of things. We managed to implement that.
Yeah.
We in the home. A home became a home. We used to call it going to my mum's.
Yeah.
We never said we're going to the home.
Yeah.
We always said we're going to my mum's, which was good. And also we're really lucky that we got her in at each step in Blakely, and I'd highly recommend it because it was a new build. It even had a weight room in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And
so you could work out while you were... No,
I could work out with her. My mum was working out, and then she had another 10 fights before she retired.
Got her back to fighting weight after all the jam.
Hey, Janet, you got to get in there,
Oh, I've heard about you, Robert De Niro. But yeah.
So, so it was a massive change because we had to put her into a secure place because she started wandering, which is another symptom of dementia.
Oh, yeah. Know all about that. Yeah.
But when she got in the new place, the quality of the visit got better. But I remember I went once and it was that point where she was not getting to recognise me. But you still make the effort. That's always been my mantra. There's no excuse for not going. And I do know the industry recognised. I used to look in her eyes and she'd look at mine. I could see that she knew I loved her, and she knew that there was a bond of some kind, whether she remembered or not. But then other days, there was one time when I went, and I went in to see her, and I used to give her a baby kiss, like that, and when you have a baby, like that, and she'd go, stop it, And one of my distraction techniques was to tell my mum that I wasn't feeling too good, and it would distract her from if she didn't feel too good. So I learned a lot of distraction techniques through Dementia Friends as well.
Okay.
So I would distract her by saying, "Oh, I've got a bit of an headache." Sometimes I wouldn't have, but she'd start, just all right, fussing me. Yeah. And on this particular occasion, I went, and she went like that. She went, "Come here." Didn't say it. She went, gestured, and she said, like that, on her lap. So I put my head in the lap, and she started stroking my head like when I was a kid, and it came flooding back, Yeah. And to cut a long story short, we both dropped off. So about must have been 15, 20 minutes later, we got a little nudge off the carers. Yeah. Yeah, and the carers had tears in their eyes, and I got them, what's going on here? Like, so we need to give your mum a medication and give her some tea. And he just said, it's just lovely to see you going back to almost being like your mum's little boy again.
Well, I was just thinking the image was mother and son.
Yeah.
Even when you first said just, by distracting, using your own health, she immediately becomes a caring mum.
Yeah.
And those precious moments were getting fewer and further between.
And that's what I say to people now, is you're missing out on that if you don't go.
You're pretty tough. I'm going to say you're pretty tough on people who you think...
I don't judge him anymore, initially.
Anymore?
No, but I think you do initially.
Why is that?
I think because you feel like they're taking the piss. You're putting a shift in. You have that kind of... when you're in the middle of it...
Yeah.
And you sort of go... It's a good question because it's... Yeah, you feel like, is it only me doing this?
Is this within your family or outside, or just in
comparison
to other people who
don't?
Yeah,
there was another one that's not been to see his dad that I know since he got diagnosed. I won't remember who I was.
A friend of yours, is this? Or
family.
Family, right,
yeah.
Okay.
Their father had to go in. But I got over it. I think almost like my religious background was no, this isn't getting you anywhere. Having this building up inside you.
Yeah.
So now, and I put a line in the play, and saying, I got to the point where whatever your decision's fine. However you cope with it is fine. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, yeah, I think what I'm trying to preach, in my dad's terms, is try and make the effort. Always make the effort if you can.
Yeah.
That's probably a better way of putting it.
And that's because it benefits both of you.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you know where they're at. And there's always that thing, isn't there, that kind of cliche thing where they say, well, it's not a cliche, it's true. You lose them and then you lose them again.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, it's difficult.
Yeah.
But like the humorous things are things like, my brother said, do you never feel like giving an extra shove when you're getting the car quick enough? And I went, yeah. I do actually, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I can say that.
Yeah.
You can say that, but if anybody else said it, they think we've been a bit, a bit rum.
This is it. Well, maybe not the carers listening.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, it's amazing the stuff that you can say to another carer, and it's all right because we get it. So I know what you mean about mum. The pace that everything mum does is so slow, and I never thought I would hate walking around the park, but it's and how hard it is to walk that slow. I nearly fall over. I nearly lose my balance because the pace of it is just so slow, and everything goes right down. And like you say, takes forever to get in the car. And
you have to go zen like. You do have to go. You have to approach it from a different kind of point of view.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't, and I have seen people visiting the loved ones and rushing, because then it's become a guilt trip where they've got to go. And why don't you do it like 3 or 4 times a week and ease off a bit and come every other day.
But spend quality
time with her, yeah. And that's what I found when I knew she was in a safe environment. So the other thing I did, even then, being a carer, I used to finish a gig in Liverpool, say, or maybe even Edinburgh, and I'd get in it, particularly Edinburgh gigs. I was getting in at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I'd go,
someone will be up then.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have a little sneaky visit to my mum's and make sure no one's killing her.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, yeah. Quality control, yeah.
Yeah, she'd walk in. It was an open door policy as well, which is good.
That's great.
So I'd walk in at 3 a.m, and my mum sometimes, and also they had that thing where, I can't, dawn and dusk thing where they can't distinguish. Like when they can't understand when it's getting dark or whatever. I mean, and sometimes it flips where they'll sleep all day and be up all night.
Yeah, my mum, she will be awake at funny times. Yeah. So when you were saying about finishing at 3, I thought, that's a good time to catch your mum when she's any parent who's got dementia, you're probably likely to find that they're awake at that time, especially in the summer, because mum lives with me. So she's up and I can hear her shuffling around.
So is she, where's your mum at? How long's she been diagnosed?
Her actual diagnosis came through in January 22. I first took her for a memory test to the GP in January 2014. So as a family, I don't know if this happened to you, we noticed that her memory was going a lot sooner than she got a diagnosis. She, both her and the doctor failed the memory test in the GP's office because he couldn't remember the 3 objects he'd asked her to remember. Right. So I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I've seen it, yeah. Another thing tactically as well is if you've got someone with dementia, is you need to get the power of attorney or the in before the classed as being
losing capacity. Yeah.
You don't realise that, and you just go, "Wow, yeah, that's the thing that he's doing."
It's not talked about enough. The preparations that you need to make. I mean, Mum, because she passed that dementia test, she never set foot in the doctor's surgery again because she felt like I can go under the radar now. Even though she didn't verbalise that, I absolutely knew that was what was happening. And I was so annoyed because I'm sitting in the corner of the room going, oh my God, it's car, ball and pen. Why can't you remember these 3 things? What is wrong with you? And of course he says, your memory's fine because it's as bad as hers. So I'm thinking, right, this is it now, And my sister, who lived a lot nearer than that, they both lived in Scotland, my mum and sister. She did a lot of the care, that sort of propping up care that kept her in a home, kept her living independently, but that was a drain on her, because, and then I would come up, not as often as I should, I admit, because that was why I was interested in how you were tough on on people. And I, look back and think I didn't help enough in those early days, but I'd give her, the odd weekend off here and there where she wasn't having to worry. But you still think about it, but she wasn't having to physically go around there. But, when we actually got the diagnosis, that was a real game changer. In between times, luckily, my sister got LPA put in place.
Right.
And that's just helped us enormously, because when it came to the point that she fell, she was in hospital with getting a hip replacement, and they realised, and she was moved into a home as part of her rehabilitation. That was the point where they kind of realised she couldn't live independently anymore. So it was a choice between
exactly
the
the
home
same with
or
us. My
not.
mum had a fall.
Oh, was it?
On the day my son was born.
Oh, my goodness.
I was at one hospital
Splitting your
having a son
time
delivered to me.
in the maternity unit.
Yeah, and then the next one, I'm at Crumpsall Hospital, which is away over in Manchester, Berry Hospital, Manchester Hospital.
Yeah.
In between the two, and she'd fell and banged her head.
Oh.
But that again is most common anyway of that age group, where a fall sometimes accelerates the process.
Yeah. So in that way.
By the way, my mum broke her hip,
Did she?
and because she had dementia, it healed quicker. Because she forgot she'd had it done. Yeah,
She just carried on like she could still.
Like she didn't have it.
That's a blessing. That's the good thing about it. There are some surprisingly good things.
Well, there's another thing the worst thing I've ever had to do was not like that in any way. My brother passed away, my youngest brother.
Oh.
And we had to go down and tell her. And it was the worst. I've done some dodgy things, had to do some, not dodgy, but horrible things.
Yeah.
And to tell my mum that her youngest son had died, and she didn't have full capacity at that time. And I walked in with John, my other brother, to tell her. And she got considered going, "Where's Trevor?"
Yeah.
And I had to say, "Trevor's died." And all she did, she spent about an hour just going, "Should be me, should be me, should be me, should be me," like that, and a finger on her breast.
Mum kicking in again, that mother instinct.
And it was like, that's when I went to the distraction thing.
Yeah.
The Dementia Friends class, and learnt some things like, next time I said, "Oh, he's not here. I don't need to tell that Trevor's died again."
Because breaking that news is just going to upset her.
She's not got the capacity to understand. And it's like showering. My mum sometimes had a few hissy fits when they were trying to shower her. She didn't want to shower.
Yeah, that's quite common. My mum doesn't like to be showered. Yeah.
And it's also the independence as well of letting her choose what clothes she wears that day.
Yeah.
What to eat that day.
Yeah.
Then we found just little things like there's sweets now that look like juicy fruits. They're like a little, not juicy fruits, but like a shape.
Oh yeah. Fruit jellies.
Yeah, like a fruit jelly, but it's water.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard. Yes, we tried them.
They just pop in her mouth and they're getting hydrated with the water from the sweets.
Yeah.
My mum was eating a box full.
Yeah.
That's where I got it from.
I know. My mum was the same.
Yeah.
But we did try with those, but she didn't like them. So I took them into her. She goes to a day centre, Age UK day centre, and we took them in, and that was perfect.
Well, they offered us that when my mum was living at home.
Yeah.
And she obviously, "I don't want to go. I said, "Well, no. Like a bit of respite, And so I was trying to figure out why. And it was because the bus was going that fast or going over bumps. She was like, and that's what put her off going.
She didn't like the minibus.
Didn't like the minibus because whoever was driving it, it's not their fault, but going over speed bumps.
Yeah.
And it was knocking her head off, not doing her head in, should have said.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I started checking in my car.
And
I've got to dump her somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. That's sort of what happened to me, because they said, "Oh, your mum can have a place, but there isn't room on the minibus." And you can bet I made sure I was able to get her, get her there and get her back.
Like 2-3 hours or whatever, you're like, I know it's crude to say, but the way I used to something was I used to rush a shit. I didn't have time for the shit.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
You know what I mean? So if you have to have a bleep on this, then there you go. But you know what I mean? You're in the loon, you're going, I'll get it,
Yeah.
And I told my mate, and he went, "I'm all right sometimes,
Yeah.
But it's that constant.
Yeah, you don't get 5 minutes.
Yeah, you don't, and it's stressful.
Yeah, so Mum would come and find me, and so I didn't get time. And the thing is, it became like a really sanctuary, a nice place where I could just sit for 5 minutes and just
My mate used to do it with a sunbed, nothing to do with dementia, but his wife got a sunbed, and he said, "No one ever disturbs me if I'm on the sunbed."
Yeah. Well, when I moved house, when me and Mum moved in together, I moved into a place that had a bath, and I hadn't had a bath in my old place. It was just a shower only. And the first time I tried to have a bath, I'm like, "Oh, this is great. This is going to be brilliant." And sure enough, the bathroom door opens, Mum walks in, and she has a shit next to bringing it full circle. So I've got these scented candles and then this scented something else. And then I'm like, I'm never going to do this again.
No, it's stuff like that people
you
don't
understand.
Get
5 minutes. You really don't.
Or even and this is a male thing as well, or anybody having to do it, really, not just a male thing, but having to clean your mum.
Yes. Having to, well, the thing about it was seeing her nude. Some families
there's that, absolutely
do that, but seeing her naked, because that's all part of the cleaning thing. So that was a big shock to me. I was like, I don't know where to look here, because I'd never seen my mum and dad with no clothes on. It was very much not that kind of household.
Well, it's cleaning. If my mum, this is the nitty gritty of caring.
Yeah.
If my mum followed through on a day out,
here we go.
You better sort it out.
I know, yeah.
And it's like, I didn't even know you could get gloves.
Yeah.
You'd be like, even when
was this before COVID then? Because the PPE came in really handy.
So it was like, but I used to get slagged off by my missus for using 600 wipes just to do a poo on a baby. Like when the kids were little, but then you just, you have to get it done.
Transferable skills. Yeah. So it's the same with the pull-ups. I mean, we've Mum won't mind me saying we've moved to them. Yeah. But it's you've got to carry around a big bag. I often compare it to the baby thing.
Well, it's like it takes you back to when you had the baby, doesn't it? When you've got the baby.
Well, I actually never had kids. Yeah. So for me, because I don't think I'm a particularly caring person, how I've ended up doing this, well, I keep asking myself every day, but it's been a real eye-opener. Let me ask you, is it the same? It can't be the same, can it?
No,
what's similar and what's different?
No, I think the only thing that you can say is the psychological thing is it's a constant thing.
Yeah.
And, your only job with a baby is keeping it alive.
I think like that about Mum, though.
No, I'm saying so that's so that's that as well, isn't it? Yeah. Because there's a really strong line in the play, and it's I want her to die, but I don't want to lose her.
Wow.
And it's one of the most honest lines in it.
Phew.
And it's, when it gets to stage 6 and 7, you're like, no, I don't want her to go through that. And as it happened, she didn't, but she got to stage 7, but it wasn't as bad as it could get.
Yeah.
And that's, even now, even that moment now with me and you, me saying that, and I know your situation, that, the mood changed just saying that. And it's accepting that, and I could see your brain going out somewhere else.
Yeah.
See your mum dying.
Just processing it.
Yeah, God, that is going to happen.
Well, it's more the contradiction that got me, because in a lot of ways, can't live with her, can't live without her.
Yeah.
It's the other way to look at it as well. It's because literally we do live together, and it's some days it's most of the time it's really, really hard, and I think it sounds harsh, but would be a lot easier for her and for me if she wasn't here. But then that's that's not fair.
Yeah, you see your siblings and someone close to you can understand that, and we can as carers understand that predicament, if you like, with what's best for them.
Yeah.
But
then there are times when she's just so sweet and so content.
Oh God, when she's hugging you and stroking your head or whatever,
Yeah.
But my bond like yours with your mum is massive. It's not like you don't care. But I think sometimes when you have that moment of facing reality, where it's going, then it's difficult. It's extremely difficult.
Have you processed that?
I think once you suffer the loss, then it was almost, when I look at it now, when someone dies and they have to do something towards, if it's a knife crime or something, or it's a sudden death, and they want to litigate or they want to do a new campaign against knife crime, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think for me, what helped me was having that thought, I want to do something constructive and do something for awareness for dementia. And so that kind of helped me process what I'd lost and also what I'd gained from it.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of pluses as well as the negative side, and concentrate on the positive stuff.
So the play is your way of processing it, yeah? Tell me a bit more about it.
I've done this format before. I did a play called My Dad's Dead, and I had to stop doing it because it was killing me. I was waking up shouting one night and ended up going to grief counselling because of my dad dying. I think that was also having the responsibilities of my mum as well.
Yeah, it will have been.
And the format is stand up a dramatic scene, stand-up, dramatic scene, stand-up.
Okay.
So I'll start the show with a bit of stand-up, and then I'll go into what will be stage one. What I do is I basically pretend that someone in the audience is my mum.
Okay.
And I'll have 7 people that I'll go to throughout the play.
Oh, great.
So if you're in the audience at stage 1, I'll just go like that. Or stage 3, I'll go like that. I'll go, you all right, mum? Hold you like that. You've done many times like that yourself. And I'll go like that, and then I'll come up and then just, when it gets more progressive, I'll put a bib on the person and give them a drink with like when it gets to stage 5, 6, when they can't do that themselves. So I act out those stages.
Okay.
And there's bits in it where I go through my mum's mail because she's no longer got the capacity to go through. Actually, at that point in the play, she's still got a bit of capacity.
Yeah.
But I'm realising that she's losing it. I also use AI as well, in the sense that I use an AI-generated voice for the different levels of cognitive decline. So it goes stage 1.
Okay.
A bit like the post office when you go and it goes, cashier number 3, please. That.
Yeah.
But then I've got, I'm not going to give anything away, but I've got a cameo role by someone who becomes the voice at stage 7.
Okay.
And that kind of like freaks people out a bit, but it's a good cameo.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a little tease to come and watch it, because you'll see how that blends into the whole, Yeah, so it's, back to your question, it was a process. Is it cathartic? Is that the word?
Yeah, I think it is.
And writing it. And it was one like the one about my dad just wrote itself, and the one about my mum did, and I've called it Dementia Street because the set has 7 doors on the stage.
Back to Corrie a bit.
Cobbles.
Yeah.
And because there's a scene in it where she forgets to bring the milk in, or the post doesn't come, and all that kind of thing. So.
Okay.
So I enjoyed doing it because it's interactive, and I was just overwhelmed by the response to it.
Yeah.
And you realise just how many people are affected by dementia.
This is it. I find
it's
that
a massive, big thing.
It touches every family somehow, even if you're not in the thick of it like we are. Do people learn from it as well? Is there like a sort of...
for every production that I do, then I'd also book the venues to do a free dementia awareness class session.
Great. So people get a ticket and then they get the option.
And they give an opportunity to attend that. And you can see the people that are affected by dementia in the audience as well. You can see it. Like, you would find it interesting and moving as well, I would imagine, because you're in the middle of it. So when I'm looking at people, so then when they're addressing me afterwards for the Q&A, I feel like I'm still giving, but also understanding where they're at.
So is the audience mostly carers, or who is it aimed at?
It's aimed at people that are... The broad marketing of it is, it's to raise awareness and offer support for those living with dementia.
So that could be
anything. It could
having
be
it,
having
or
it,
caring for someone, or in
working
your life.
in it.
Working, yeah.
Carer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and if get the funding right, then we can invite the carers for free to come and watch it, and that kind of thing.
That's great, yeah.
And then also applying for funding, because it's got kind of mental health issues as well that might be useful when I'm trying to attract some funding from wherever and whoever. Did
you find your mental health was precarious when you were going through
all that?
I
mean, I think what I've realised the last year even, is just how precarious it was.
Yeah.
And going through all those losses as well, my dad, my brother, my mum. I became the older statesman, I think, when my dad died. And a lot of that we mentioned before we started about the De Niro face. I think it was almost like the crowning of the Godfather when my dad went, like taking responsibility for my mum.
Yeah.
I'll be walking,
Oh, I'm glad we got that in.
got it in, there you go.
Now, for anybody listening to the podcast, they're missing a treat. You've got to tune in on YouTube now.
On YouTube, yeah. That's the one thing, one regret I've got. She never saw me in Coronation Street.
Why?
Because she died when I was in it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant, was it a favourite show or something?
No, she passed away before I did it.
Oh, yeah.
But because I remember as a kid, we went down to Granada Studios when it was over there.
Yeah.
And I, in my innocence, thought my mum knew them, and I couldn't understand why they weren't letting on.
Yeah. Why did you think they would all be friends? Or
I just thought she knew him because I was a kid,
Yeah, because they were in your house the whole time on the telly.
And then realising how much she loved it, and then doing it. I've been on it twice. I played a dog napper.
Yeah.
Where I nicked Maureen Lipman's dog.
Okay.
And then just recently I played a mixologist, a bloke with doing cocktails.
Oh, yeah. So true to life, to both characters,
Yeah, dog napping and doing cocktails.
She'd have been really proud if it's her
and
favourite
also,
show.
One of the things my dad did as well when he passed away was going through his stuff. Mm-hmm. And there was some stuff that I did that he was like, Andrew, that kind of thing. Yeah. But when I had to go through his stuff, which is another thing, is not, you're not taught that at school, that comes.
No.
And he had a box of my stuff. Every time I'd been on the telly, he'd kept it.
Yeah.
He kept all the press cuttings, and so that was nice to find that,
And he never told you?
He didn't tell me he keeps keeping a box, but I mean, he knew he was proud of what I was doing and stuff, because it's not the sort of job I was supposed to do. Nobody had any expectations for anybody from where we lived to even go to university. It's like, get a job.
They supported you?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely.
My dad never came to see me do stand-up, but he saw a couple of he obviously watched everything I did on the telly.
Was it a bit too much for him? Or?
I don't think it was too much. I think, the environment, he would never come to a comedy club because there was alcohol and he was against, booze and whatever. So that was one of the things. But my dad had a fantastic sense of humour, so it was always... I did a character called Grandad Roberts.
Yeah.
And it was called Meat Pie Sausage Roll, and it was an England song. Mm-hmm. And... Trevor filmed me mum and dad doing it. I was with Grandad Roberts and Elvis, who was the character's grandson.
Yeah.
And they did a version of it. And my mum played the Elvis character, and my dad played the Grandad character.
Yeah.
So he played me, and my mum played my mate who did Elvis. And at the end of it, he did this lovely thing at the end. I've still got the video. And at the end, he goes, takes his cap off, and he goes, anything you can do, I can do better. But it's really a lovely, lovely thing, a lovely memory.
So there are some good things that come out of being...
I think if you lose someone as well, you've got them skills as well, you've always had them, because that's why you're a carer. There are people that fall into the carer category, and there's those that aren't.
Yeah.
That's a definite thing.
I wouldn't have thought I was, but here I am.
But you might not think that, but you can use those skills and those instincts and everything else with your family once your mother's passed away, or whoever's listening to this or watching it. You can still... I've devoted more time to my family that I felt like I neglected slightly as well when I was looking after my mum.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's something you can use as a positive.
Well, I have really loved speaking to you, Andy.
I as well, I've enjoyed it, yeah.
AKA Smug, and you sound like you care.
I do care, yeah. And I care about this project, and I hope you do well with it, and
Thank you. Well, I hope to have you back, and I can't wait to see the play.
No, I think you obviously got an invite to the play.
Looking forward to it and seeing you again, and thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Okay, great. Thank you for listening. And please like, subscribe, follow, and join our community of unpaid family carers on the Do I Sound Like I Care socials at Carer Podcast. Do I Sound Like I Care is a Libra Studios production and was produced and edited by David Barnes. See you next time.